Hello, everyone. It is Thursday, September 10th. Welcome to another episode of Together San Diego. I'm your host, Luis Cruz, Community Relations Director for the San Diego Union-Tribune. Joining me this morning is Jared Heineman, Vice President of Community Development at LivingWorks, and Monica Nepomuceno, Education Consultant at the California Department of Education. Jared and Monica, thank you both very much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks so much. Pleasure to join you.
Yeah, I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. This is National Suicide Prevention Week, and we're talking about the importance of shining a light on mental wellness and suicide prevention. Next Tuesday, you're holding a virtual youth summit on this topic, and I should mention that the San Diego Union-Tribune is a sponsor of that event. And so we're going to be talking about that today. But first, Jared, why don't you tell us about what LivingWorks is?
Yeah, thanks so much. I really appreciate you having me on. I'll also note that today, September 10th, is International Suicide Prevention Day. So what a great opportunity to really get the message out around the importance of suicide prevention, not only today and this week, but year round. And certainly the data in California and across the country and the world really speaks to the importance of suicide being a topic that we talk about. So thank you so much for your support and opportunity around this. LivingWorks is a world leader in suicide prevention training solutions. Our mission and vision are pretty simple. We envision a world free from suicide loss, and our goal is to make that world possible by empowering people to make a difference, no matter who they are or what they do. We believe that everybody has a role to play in suicide prevention, and that there are some basic skills that people can learn and practice and put into play. And so LivingWorks provides a suite of training programs available to people, regardless of who they are or what they do.
And Jared, why have you partnered with the California Department of Education?
Well, honestly, we've partnered with the California Department of Education because they presented us with this amazing opportunity to engage middle and high school students and staff across the state. So this is this wonderful opportunity that we feel quite honored and privileged to partner with the California Department of Education, Monica's team, and the great team at the San Diego County Office of Education. So, I mean, the opportunity was presented to us and we absolutely jumped at it because it's not often that a statewide Department of Education and elected officials at the state level prioritize suicide in such a way to really work towards a statewide impact. And so that we would have been foolish to not jump at this partnership. And up till now, Monica and the team in San Diego have been just tremendous to work with.
And Monica, why is suicide prevention a priority for the California Department of Education?
Well, we know that suicide is a public health issue that really can affect anyone, right? And youth suicide attempts and deaths are on the rise now. It is and has been for a while the second leading cause of death for youth ages 10 to 24. And from the research and the surveys that we conduct here in the state, which are the California Healthy Kids Survey and the Youth Risk Behavior Surveys, we have learned that approximately 2 to 3% of students make a serious attempt for suicide. And in a school of 2,000, that's between 40 and 60 students a year. Research also tells us that there has been a huge increase in mental health issues among California high school students over a 2-year period. And so questions such as, during the past 12 months, did you ever feel so sad or hopeless almost every day for 2 weeks that you stopped doing some of the usual activities? In 2017, that was 32.1%. In 2019, that increased to 45.3%. And there's other questions that are related to this. So for example, during the past 12 months, did you ever seriously consider attempting suicide? In 2017, California youth were answering yes at 17% rate. And in 2019, that increased to 26.6%. So we know that this is a serious issue. And we know that how much of a difference it makes when someone in crisis gets the help that they need. So schools are definitely a prime place to get students help that they need, because that's where they spend most of their time with their teachers and their peers. And really, the safety and well-being of all students and staff is a priority for the Department of Education.
And Monica, obviously the last 6 months or so have been unprecedented, I guess would be the word to say, to mention. What are you hearing from teachers and students about the challenges that they are facing right now?
Well, sure, definitely, without a doubt, the mental health needs during this pandemic and during the social unrest has really magnified the need for services. The uncertainty that we're all facing during this time has caused great anxiety, stress, and just a sense of being overwhelmed, right? The distress is being felt everywhere. And recently there was a survey that was conducted by a group called the Youth Liberty Squad, which is a group that is California high school students, and it's being supported by the American Civil Liberties Union of Southern California and groups such as the California Association of School Counselors, or CASC as it's better known. They surveyed over 650 students, and 32% of those students said that their mental health needs have increased or have arisen since the school closed, and more than half of them say that they already had mental health issues pre-COVID, and that their needs have since exacerbated. And what we're hearing from teachers is the same thing. They're overwhelmed, they're stressed. They even though the school districts are trying to support them, it's the environment which is not conducive to doing the job that they're normally used to. So we knew really at the beginning of all this that it was going to increase the needs of mental health for mental health services. And so, we're trying to keep up with that.
Right. And Jared, you've been helping people not only in this country, but all over the world with LivingWorks. Talk a little bit about what LivingWorks Start is.
Yeah, thanks. So LivingWorks Start is one of our suite of trainings at LivingWorks. For almost 40 years, we have been delivering in-person training in a variety of different forms. About 2 years ago, and fortunately, we of course couldn't have planned the timing, but we knew that we needed to create an online training program. And so that's what LivingWorks Start is. It's a 60 to 90 minute online interactive training program. And I know I work for the company, so maybe Monica is better, is more relevant to answer this question. But I took LivingWorks Start before I joined LivingWorks. And I was blown away by how interactive the training is, and it's a skill building program. So there are simulations, there are interactive videos. What's on the screen now is on the left is an example of a chat practice that the participant is required to go through to complete the training. And LivingWorks Start is for anyone ages 13 or older. So it's not just a student program. It's not just a staff program. Anyone can take LivingWorks Start. And what's really cool about this partnership with the California Department of Education is that we have inserted and are integrating student-specific scenarios into the training, so that not only do you get to see what a suicide intervention looks like, you actually interact with the intervention as it's happening. So you think through as a student or a staff member how you can and should respond in a similar situation. And so that's the power of LivingWorks Start, is one that it provides the opportunity to practice and to practice anonymously. So you don't have to have fear of judgment or getting it wrong. You walk through it on your own and at your own pace. And I think what's really also important about it is it provides the capacity to reach a large number of people in a short amount of time. So reach and impact are so important to LivingWorks and to the suicide prevention field, because, quite frankly, and Monica described this very well, the data that she reported are real. Suicide is a public health issue, not only in California and for young people, but across the United States and for all ages. And one of our biggest challenges in this field has been that people are not aware of how impactful suicide is. And traditionally, it's a topic that we're simply afraid to talk about. And we need to change that narrative. And so a training like this and doing public education and having support of organizations like the San Diego Union-Tribune to get that message out and to empower people to not embrace suicide as a topic, but to embrace that this is a topic we have to talk about. Not that we should talk about, that we have to talk about. And so this is a step towards that.
And how can the LivingWorks START program help students, teachers, and school staff protect one another from suicide?
Yeah, again, I'll mention the timing, which again, we didn't plan. But as Monica mentioned, students and staff, I mean, it is a curious time to be a human with the isolation and the anxiety. And we happen to find ourselves in an incredibly contentious political season right now. So there's lots of pressure on many people. And we know that ramped up isolation and feelings of anxiety and hopelessness are risk factors for suicide. And so right now is such an important time, particularly when students can't come together in person and they're interacting on social media and taking classes online, that we have to equip students and staff with the skills to be able to recognize if somebody's off or if somebody's in need, because not always when somebody is suicidal do they just come out and tell you. You have to be able to recognize the risk factors and warning signs. And equally importantly, you have to learn how to ask the really hard question of, are you having thoughts of suicide? And so our training, LivingWorks START, teaches you how to engage in that conversation, and it provides you with the skills to help keep, if you're a student, a peer, or yourself, safe, and how to refer and support that person to someone who can help them in a moment of crisis, of which there are many opportunities to do so. And LivingWorks START really provides those basic skills. And the bottom line is it's hard. And it requires courage to ask someone if they're suicidal. And so having some basic skills and having an opportunity to practice in an online interactive program is the key to LivingWorks START, so that you have the opportunity to practice it in real time with somebody that you're concerned about.
And if I can just interject really quickly, I think, Jared, you were on point with all of that. And I think that what LivingWorks START does also by providing these experiences, these interactive experiences, is that it adds to their students' toolbox, right? We have to face it. We have to be honest about it. Adults have experiences, right? They have their little bag that they can go to that says, I've been through a rough time before, and this is what got me through it. This is what helped me. They sort of reach into that toolbox, right? Students don't have that. They don't have that experience. And so START kind of gives them a glimpse into that and what they would do if they themselves are having feelings like this, or their peers, or their loved ones, their friends, anybody that they run into, right? Are there some red flags that we can equip them with, and some tools on how to reach out. And Jared is absolutely right. It is frightening for people to ask that question, are you thinking of suicide? And historically, we've sugarcoated it by saying, are you thinking of harming yourself? But the best thing to do is ask the question straight out. Are you thinking of suicide? And then, then we have to figure out, what do we do with that information?
Yeah. Well, one step that you're taking to inform our young people, you're holding the virtual summit that is taking place Tuesday at 1:00. TikTok star and comedian Caitlin O'Reilly will be emceeing the online streaming event. She is hilarious, so I can't wait to tune in on Tuesday at 1:00. Jared, what else can you tell us about this virtual event?
Yeah, so the bottom line for the virtual event is and this has been a great partnership with Monica and her team, is to create an atmosphere where we provide hope and inspiration. Because the bottom line is we want the Youth Summit to inspire, empower, and entice students in particular to engage in LivingWorks Start. They're not just going to do it because we suggest, hey, you should go check out this training. We really need to inspire them to do it. Everybody's attention spans are relatively short these days with social media and the world's shrinking and so much to consume, that we know it requires a commitment to take 90 minutes to complete and really engage with a training. We think the summit is a way to introduce this concept in an entertaining and meaningful way to really engage students. So the target audience is absolutely middle and high school students in California. We certainly want staff and school administrators to participate and attend and learn from and be inspired by the summit. But as you will see by the lineup that is part of the summit, the audience is young people. So we have musicians, we have Shin Lin, who is a card magician. We have, I'm drawing a little blank here, but
Tate McRae, who's a singer, songwriter, and Fuego, who also is a singer.
Yeah, thank you, Monica. And mixed into that, we have some really amazing speakers with lived experience. So people who have, like Emma Benoit, who is a suicide attempt survivor, who has just an amazing story of hope and recovery. We have another person with lived experience who is a dunk champion, and sprinkled into that, thank you, Kenny Dobbs, who's also got an amazing story. And as you will see if you attend the summit, is a pretty fantastic dunker. And sprinkled in throughout this hour session are experts in suicide prevention who will really encourage students to participate in the summit, not only in the summit, but participate in LivingWorks Start. And again, this is about connectedness and hope and empowerment. Suicide's a dark, unpleasant topic, but what really gets me up and showing up at work every day to work in this field is that I know that suicide is preventable. And I know that hope and connectedness and resilience are protective of suicide. And so we want this summit to really support students in feeling engaged and feeling empowered and feeling connected to their school, to their community, to their peers, and to understand that they have an opportunity to help prevent suicide. And it's simple. I mean, suicide's complex, it's challenging, it's difficult, but you don't have to be a psychiatrist to save a life. You can save a life with some simple skills that you can learn in as little as 90 minutes. And so that's what it's really all about.
And so, Monica, how can students, teachers, and staff across the state watch it?
So we are sending out all these flyers, and we're doing a lot of promotion about it. You go to www.lwyouthsummit.com to register and punch in the password, which is START. And they can join us, from 1 to 2 on September 15th. I encourage youth to even watch it with their parents if possible, because I think everybody needs to learn this valuable information that is going to be shared on the summit.
Great. Now, I understand the California Department of Education has never done a virtual summit before, especially around this topic. What are your goals for the summit?
Well, really, the goal of the summit is twofold, right? One, like Jared said, it's really to empower and encourage youth to begin normalizing conversations about mental health and well-being. We already know they're talking about it a little bit, but we want to really give them the tools on how to do it, right? We want them to learn that they're not the only ones that are experiencing emotional distress, and want to, give them these opportunities to build their own toolbox, as I said earlier. They're not the only ones that are going through a rough time. Others are as well, and together we can, help them get through it. We want to also let them know through this summit that reaching out for help doesn't make them weak. It's actually a sign of strength, and doing so is going going to help them and model for their peers and their friends, their siblings and others on how to do it right. The second goal really is to propel students to complete that 90-minute LivingWorks START training, right? So that they can gain the skills to help identify when somebody else could be going through a mental health crisis and possibly contemplating suicide. It's going to really teach them how to reach out and help connect them to those caring adults that are going to be able to help. So those are the goals.
Right. Jared, can the public get involved in the summit? How can they watch it? Can they watch it on Tuesday or after the event is over?
Yep. So both of those things, obviously, we were very intentional about scheduling this summit during the school day. I know that students are learning online, but there is an opportunity, of course, for them to participate, next Tuesday from 1 to 2 p.m. But we are recording the summit. It will be available on YouTube, on the LivingWorks website. I assume maybe, Monica, on the CDE website for a year after the summit. So, if you're watching this and, well, I got to work next Tuesday from 1 to 2, it will be available to you. And I think what would really be helpful is to help us promote the summit, to promote it to young people, to students and staff in your community, and to really take time to view the summit. Afterwards is fine, and really talk about suicide. This project is very specifically for students and staff, but anybody can engage with LivingWorks START. And so if you are interested in more information about START and how to access it, you can certainly visit the LivingWorks website at www.livingworks.
Oh, it looks like we lost Jarrett there for a second there. Hopefully he'll join us again, but he was talking about the website address, which is lwyouthsummit.com. There is where the youth summit will be, and then will be available after the fact. So let's see. Jared is back on. Jared, thank you so much for joining us again.
Sorry about that. That was human error, not technical error. Apologies.
That's okay. I was just giving folks the website address, which is lwyouthsummit.com. Now, Jared, you've been, it sounds like you've been in this field a very long time. What are some signs or symptoms of serious depression that, people should be looking out for?
Yeah, thanks. I've worked in suicide prevention for about 16 years now. And the best answer for that question is that it's complex. There's not just one sign. So it's important to understand that there are lots of signs that may be risk factors or warning signs for lots of types of problem behavior. But specifically, things to look for are real. And this is true for young people. Kids who talk about death and dying and suicide, we need to take that seriously. So that's one of the key messages for adults and for peers is even if a student talks about suicide or death on a regular basis, that's not a healthy way to get attention, to ask for attention. Because we hear that all the time. Oh, he or she's just seeking attention. Well, my answer to that is that's not a healthy way to seek attention. So I'm going to pause you every single time you say it, and we're going to have a real conversation about it. Other warning signs are just simple changes in behavior, drops in grades, changes in sleep patterns, irritability, risky behavior, things that teenagers do. Am I right? But what our training teaches you is if you're feeling like, oh gosh, doesn't seem quite right to me, what this young person is doing or how they're acting or speaking, we want you to pause and ask. And if you ask if a student's suicidal and they say no, and you trust that the answer is no, that's fine. That doesn't mean that you're going to plant the seed in a young person's head. The research is pretty strong in showing that if you ask a suicidal person if they're suicidal, they typically feel relief because someone is seeing them for how they're feeling. Because people who are suicidal often get tunnel vision and they think nobody understands or is having similar experiences to them. And so if you can open up a conversation with them, it tends to immediately put them at ease. And so that's the power of this training, is to be a listener and to be an empathetic listener. And it helps to be able to do that by understanding and knowing the risk factors and the warning signs.
Monica, anything else you want to add to that?
No, I just think it's critical for us to all, always be alert and paying attention to behavior that our loved ones, that our students, that our friends, our neighbors are exhibiting, and to start those conversations. I recently had a conversation with a couple of kids here in my neighborhood. We live on a court, and we started talking about mental health and about suicide. And one of the young men said, I have thought about suicide. I was feeling, at a really low point. And when I see this young man, he's always happy-go-lucky, doesn't, ever seem like he's sad. Of course, like any other teenager is, sort of moody and all that. But if I had not had that conversation with him, if I had not opened up, this conversation about mental health and well-being, I would have never known that he had thoughts of suicide. And so I did talk, his mom was there. We talked at length to it and about it. And so it's important to just, even when the signs aren't there, just to start these conversations.
Yeah. Let's see. Mara Madrigal writes, "Thank you for spreading the word. Please pass the message on. Knowledge is power, and together we are stronger." Mara, thank you for that comment. Anything else either of you would like to add?
No, this has been a great conversation, and thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I would just like to add, a big thank you to Assemblymember Mark Berman for including the funding of AB 1808 into the Educational Omnibus Trailer Bill, which is, what made this whole thing happen. And so we are very grateful to him. We're grateful to our Superintendent of Public Instruction for supporting all of this. And we are thankful for, to our partners and also to you for helping us spread the word. We have the capacity of having, about 1 million students or 1 million participants in this youth summit. And so I hope that the word spreads, widely about this event. I know that it's during the school day, but right now, whatever teachers or educators are out there listening to this, I hope that you find a way to integrate this summit into your educational day, maybe by making it mandatory for students to view. Maybe if it's during your educational hours, if you can watch it together on screen, and then perhaps have students write in their reactions to this, or anything that pops up for them. These are also really great ways to learn more about your students and what your students are feeling, and also connecting them to the help that they need. Because a lot of times during these, essay drills, we find out significant information about the mental health struggles of our students. So if there's a way that you can integrate this summit into your day, that would be phenomenal for you to do.
Great. All right. Once again, the LivingWorks Youth Summit taking place on Tuesday at 1 o'clock, and you can get more information at lwyouthsummit.com. Thank you, Jared Heineman, Vice President of Community Development at LivingWorks, and Monica Nepomuceno, Education Consultant at the California Department of Education, for all your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much at home for watching. Have a great day, everybody.
What is Generation Z?
Generation Z is very diverse and different from other generations.
In a brand new podcast from the San Diego Union-Tribune, we'll get to know this new generation that's literally changing the face of America. And you'll hear directly from them about what they are and aren't.